Hell, Ben.
Yeah.
We have to go back up. Go back. You were so late in. You were so late in. We're going back out. We're going back out. We're going back out.
Done.
3, 2, 1, Ben. Get in.
Good morning.
Wow. You go to Canada for a couple of weeks and you come back.
Yeah.
And it's all just. It's probably the time zone stuff catching up to you.
It's all professional. I'm jet lagged. what can I say? I have jet lag. Of course I have jet lag.
So
I
the whole
realized I had to
good
do
morning, good
two
evening,
things.
good afternoon thing is going to really screw you up.
Yeah, he's like, good times. Good
times.
hello.
Yeah.
And hello, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Oh, hey, how's it
How
going?
you doing? Good. Welcome back. We have done a Ben and Paul in a row. And you've been on. We did a tech thing that was Ben and Paul in a row.
Yeah.
You're a friend and frequent visitor of this studio and our show. So hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
I'm happy to be back again, talking about something else but tech. So that's a nice one.
Yes.
Surprise,
I'm
it's actually tech.
surprised.
Oh no!
Fix our tech. Fix.
List out the top best sound effect.
Do not.
No,
push
you're
that
right.
button, Clifford. Do not push.
I'm
that
not
button.
going. I'm not going to. I couldn't possibly. That's not something I'm going to do.
I can see you literally reaching with the thing. Just
I
do
wasn't.
it.
I wasn't thinking about
Yeah.
it until a second ago. So now it's on my brain. That's okay. No, they're not touched. Nothing's happening. You are right, Paul. We're not talking about tech this day. We are talking about Tipsy Tabletop, drinking brews, alcohol, imbibing at the game table in advance of Paddy's Day's in like 2 weeks, or Paddy's Day's in 13 days.
Yeah.
Which is the closest. It's not the closest Ben and Declan on a roll, but it's the closest before Paddy's Day, which is why we thought it'd be a good episode to do, so that we could share any advice, experience, any learnings we have as two people who have professionally drank on shows.
Yeah.
I mean, professionally to the sense that we don't get paid for it, but
Yeah.
and to share those tips with players and GMs and everything that's involved with drinking. And also, Declan was contractually obliged because we did one on romance. So that's the
And
two
also,
sides of our coins.
Yes, we kiss or we drink, but we don't do both.
No, that's the line we never cross.
Good line.
Are there any top of the show, like housekeeping questions, bits? Paul, we'll get around. For anyone who doesn't know Paul, actually, where would you... It's very arrogant of me to assume that if you know me, you know Paul, because we're in a lot of things together. But if people don't watch my half of these things, where would they find you?
Yeah, so they'll find me on most socials as DM Paul Nexus and also as Hear Us Out, where we do a movie and TV podcast.
Yeah. And
And on
we've
Homebrew Quest. So
yeah. You'll know Paul from Homebrew, from behind the scenes as we began, and from in front of the camera, and now from behind the DM screen as we move into our new content, which is very exciting. We have it done, recorded, and now we're just cutting it together. It is coming at some point. Don't push us. This is not our job. But
What?
we are doing it. We love doing it. Declan, any housekeeping our end?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, I mean, and if you're in the Discord, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. I've always been really interested. I know we've talked about kind of the origins of Homebrew Quest and all that stuff before, but I don't know if we've ever actually talked about the booze part of it. Like, I know it was there kind of, well, we're all hanging out, we might as well have a drink or two, like, but because obviously it's not just a social thing at the table, like, because that's we were saying this kind of off stream, but like, I'm a big board gamer. I occasionally will have a home TTRPG thing. Drinking at it has never really been a thing we did. I don't know, like even playing a board game. Like, I might have a glass of wine or a bottle of beer or whatever like that, but I would never imbibe a lot. That No,
Mm.
this kind of feels like I'm doing an intervention for the pair of you.
You guys drink too much,
Mm.
is the
But
No, but I know what you mean. Like, we made drinking a core a core part of
mm,
the branding for Homebrew, and as we played more and more of Campaign 1, kind of a core part of the mechanics of the game as well. So that to answer your first question, Homebrew came from, um, this weird coincidence of, a lot of people would be into tabletop role playing games and board games and also into craft beer. And I'm one of those people. And I started to notice that a lot of craft beers had very fantasy coded names. And I don't think the brewers intended that, but they would just have names that lent themselves really nicely to tabletop role playing. So Homebrew's initial pitch was a game where the beers inspire the world, the places, and the things. So we'd have NPCs, we'd have town places, we'd have certain kind of elements of the world building would be done through the drinks we have at the table. And even though we're homebrew and it very much implies like ales and beers and ciders and etc., it was we were open to all sorts of any liquid, right down to I think during COVID and generally when we were remote, half of us were sick at all times, and most of the time one of us was drinking Lemsip. So
Yeah.
that was fine. And again, for guests, for anyone who doesn't drink or is abstains from alcohol, it wasn't a prerequisite to be on the show or the stream to drink. Um, and a lot of our audience and listenership would send in their booze as well. They'd kind of send things that they were drinking when they were watching, and then the players could pull from chat, which was a kind of a nice mechanic. And I think the name Homebrew just became from like this is a this was a campaign set in a world sort of inspired by our home, which is Ireland. We called it Hibernia, and it was very Irish coded. And then brew for brew, and then homebrew because it's a TTRPG term. It was a Venn diagram of bad SEO, really,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
there's so
That's
many other things that would be called this.
Yeah, it was the worst. That's part of the worst decision was the name of it to become Homebrew Quest because
Yeah.
Homebrew is just such a dire thing. But yeah, that was the interesting thing. Just to really the thing was that it was more about naming people and places originally just within the world, which did make it a little bit more accessible to people throwing out names, very much like a lot of other kind of TTRPG podcasts and stuff that would like message us on his social media and like we'll get your name in as an NPC kind of thing. We just reversed that and made it from beers and stuff, which also allows hopefully sponsors to be like, well,
Mm.
here we'll throw a bunch of random beer names, which never happened, but it was a cool idea. Once I think
Yeah.
you got something close.
We got someone sent some beers to us at one point, or I got sent beers through something else, and I just used them for homebrew. It was
Did you,
like, "Hey," I
did you get
trying to
Sky
think of something.
Tigers?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So Sky Tigers was, technically a beer given to me for a different show and an idea I've had since I was, like, in university, this cartoon of tigers, and if you've watched this channel, you've seen me run a TTRPG version of this, but they did brew. It started with just a label. They just labeled the can for me and made a kind of Sky Tigers label. And then the brewery legitimately brewed it and it was available in like pubs around Dublin, which was very cool. So um it was a very sweet and surreal moment where you go in. It was this is tangential to our talk and to our topic today, but it did feel strange where I went into a pub. I went into the Black Sheep on Capel Street because they had it there. I was like, "Can I get a Sky Tigers?" And they gave it to me and I paid for it. And part of me just innerly is like, "You don't know who I made this."
Yeah.
It's like this I should have one for free. You don't know who I am. But you know, that's such a strange feeling to have because of
I'd
like as I'm
love
drinking,
to
it's like,
see you go full Karen over it. I just, yeah. I
and I
made
knew
this.
the insanity of it. But you don't know. Do you know the story behind this? It's like, no, I don't care. It's like, okay. There's a whole backstory. I know these people, these characters have names. There's a story. There's a TV show pilot written. If you ever want to read it, that's the but yeah, so Sky Tigers was pretty close to that. And with the pre-recording of the game that Paul is DMing, it doesn't allow for a lot of sponsorship at the table, but we are able to then go back out to people and go, "Hey, we're going to put this out. It's this whole thing about drinking," and we can easily kind of drop in sponsorship for that quite simply. Um, and even show and be able to show people as well. Because I think one of the problems with a show like Homebrew is, hey, we're all going to get drink. we're all going to get drunk on the internet, which comes with all the kind of pitfalls and joy of that. Do you want to sponsor us? We don't know if we're going to do your brand any good.
Yeah.
Um,
We now have a package, hopefully a packaged product. But
yeah,
the evolution of that became part of a semi-sub magic system, which was an interesting evolution to it, because then it then was able to break through, I guess, into all our games, which was really nice
mhm,
kind of element. But also that also didn't exclude then like non-alcoholic beers or anything like that as well, kind of for magic and stuff.
yeah,
So that was a pretty interesting one. But it did set a precedent of drinking at the table. So,
yes, yeah.
you know,
Finding funny named things, and it's not unfair to say the funnier the name, the higher the percentage on average. That's just something we've noticed from beers around the world. That if something's called like Funk Bomb 5000, then it's going to be 12%. Which is actually quite a nice, like, when it comes to game mechanics, there's only so many of them you can possibly bring to the table by your own limitations. Um, Paul, was I telling you about this? I think I might have been telling Declan about this, but beer magic as a concept, this idea that anything written on the can you can use as a spell or you can use as like an ability, um, has inspired one of the potential kind of homebrew projects that we have going, which is all about like doing a vampire game, and that blood is brews,
yeah,
and therefore drinking as you use beer magic, that is you in world feeding, and therefore it makes you more powerful, but it makes you more like monstrous in a uncontrollable vampiric way that the thirst and the kind of craving can build up. So there's a real world consequence to sobriety and insobriety, which will be a fun thing to do.
yeah. Like it's an interesting mechanic that we brought in. But it's one of those things that it's also we have experience at drinking at the table. So being able to keep on top of it is also very important.
See,
A great
that's
segue. Declan,
that's
I
yeah,
think you were gonna
that's
take that.
my big question. How do you all manage it? Because, like, as you are drinking, and I know the goal of the of Homebrew Quest isn't whoever can get the most pissed wins. It's that's not in no way do I in no way does it ever come across the Homebrew Quest kind of promotes binge drinking, or that's not the thing. But those I think it's particularly prevalent when you're at home and you're having a glass of wine or you're having a beer and you're like, oh, I'll have another one. I'll have another one. I'll have another one. And suddenly you're four deep into the session, and how much, like, I guess, like, is there like a system in place that you guys have where it's like, it's fun, but maybe stop? Like, does anybody monitor that, or is it just down to you to self-regulate?
I think each of us, so the DM at the game master at the table kind of has the final say towards story elements, but I think that all of us have an element of kind of like looking after each other and making sure that that we're not going too far or anything like that. You know, we're all, because we're kind of getting we've become more used to it. Like we're able to set a goal of going, we want to tell a story, we want to play this game, but we want to do drinking on the side. So we already have that set in the mind. At the start, that might have gone off a little bit on the rails a little bit. But as we've gotten more and more used to it over the time, it's become like a group thing. DM has final say on all matters anyway, so like it's a big easy kind of thing. But the worst actually element of it is the fact is that because we're not drinking like a set amount of beers, we're all drinking different ones because we all want to have different names. People reach a peak and then go above us, where other people are still like, getting there.
Yeah.
That's the element of a little bit more
Mm,
control and stuff where you're going to you're okay. So the two drinks that you've had are like, 12% and everybody else is just at a three. So let's, slow it down for you. And, but sometimes what happens, which is the worst part of it, is the fact is that someone goes, well, I'm going to go meet that person at that level. And you're just like, no. And it goes a little bit off control. But
yeah.
the system is essentially the same as the safety tools that we have. We just have extra ones, which are just like, you need to calm down. When we do take breaks for recordings, we always drink water and we check each other and stuff like that. So
It's I wouldn't say we have any. I don't think we started with like solidified rules and there's no charter that we've written out, but through just experience, we kind of have unspoken rules, but like unwritten, but all understood. And they can slip at times for sure, but I think during the initial live recordings and then the streamed games, like one of the unspoken rules is, has everyone eaten before we started playing? Um, Now that we do kind of day recordings, to be fair, I think we should be probably slightly better at that because it's morning time. So it's kind of going, has everyone had breakfast? And then you're like, you might start at like 10 or 11. It's like, I might as well wait for lunch. And you're like, no, I think eat now. Like it's better to have that there and to drink responsibly and be drink aware. So like it's nice that we're in Ireland where there is such good content and information and PSAs about alcohol in general. And so we we have that inherent in us, and it's not surprising to know that the unwritten rules are the same unwritten rules in any social situation. If you meet friends for a drink in a pub, if you go out to a concert, if you all decide to go for a birthday party, it's bad form to turn up drunk, so don't do that. Um, it's be open to someone pulling you aside and saying, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need water or anything?" And not get like belligerently, argumentative about that. Know why you're all here, which is, well, we're all here to have a good time, and we're all here, and especially in homebrews, we're all here to tell a story. And the the fourth being like, this isn't the you put it in your question, Declan. It's not the aim. The aim of homebrew is
Mm.
not to drink. I think we would have a show as entertaining, as raucous, as chaotic, sober, but maybe not as random. That's the and it dice do a lot, but the kind of the unexpected timing of these things puts just an extra element of something else in. Because it's not too surprising to learn that we're all roughly maybe heightened versions of ourselves, but we're all roughly the same people, drunk and sober. And for homebrew specifically, I think it's a little easier for us than compared to a home game, and maybe we can talk about home games. For us, we know we're on a camera and on mic. So like we're never so unaware of the content we're making. We know each other because we're friends and we drink with each other. So we can recognize those signs. I would openly say I've heard from friends I'm quite difficult to monitor because I'll go from sending like this to suddenly being like, it'll go like 0 to 1,000, and like, when did he get drunk? And they're like, we don't know, but somewhere between like that sip and that sip, it all just hit him. So I know for my own self to be aware of that in homebrew, um, and I think that's important. So it's a protective layer. The individual is responsible, the group is responsible, the DM is ultimately responsible, and then the kind of outside the joint agreement of the game. So like ultimately real life, and if it's never gotten dangerous in any shape or form, but if for someone at home or for someone watching this, if it ever gets to a point where it's like this is bad, then like actual real life is the final arbitrator, which is to say we don't do this anymore, that it is a risk to drink and play, or any of those kind of things. Whereas most of the time, I think we started out just having a couple of like light beers. One of my favorites was Northern Lights. It was like 1 point something percent or 2%. I drank it purposely because it was a low session, um, and it kind of went out of fashion. These like NAB labs, so no alcohol or low alcohol beers, and it's a shame
It
because they're delicious.
it's interesting because like a lot of what you know you were speaking to there, Ben and Paul, like um I won't go into a lot of the specifics, but romancing. I actually, I told Paul and Keelan this story at that AdventureCon, but there is there is an Ark of the Covenant episode of Romancing the Dungeon that will never see the light of day, um, because we did all the things that you said not to do, or the things that we decided, wouldn't it be fun to just do a silly little one shot after a full day's recordings. So we had already been going for 6 or 7 hours. We mostly just had snack food in our stomach. So this wasn't at a point of Romancing Dungeon where we would stop in the middle of the day for food and sustenance and a break. So we had been working for about 6 or 7 hours. All we were having was really sugar. And I think we had maybe 2 cocktails or 2 cocktails and a beer. We didn't have a lot. So it wasn't a case of we all just, you know, got absolutely blot out and left the mics run. We had a cocktail, and I don't quite remember what it was that kind of inspired us to do the one shot and drink. But it was just, it'll be fun. And again, everybody, everybody was absolutely inebriated, and it led to just crap. Like, it was just absolutely garbage. There was no rhyme or reason to what we were doing. Again, it was that people at the table next to you, in the pub, that are obnoxiously loud, think they're the funniest people in the room. They're having the best time. Everybody else here is their audience, and it was just a mess. And we never did it again. Like, we've never done it again. And since then I've only ever drank on stream twice. That was one time guesting in a Homebrew Quest episode.
Yeah.
And then I took part in I worked with Krifu. The name of their channel has escaped my brain just now. I know that Krifu now is on Tumble Through, but I joined a live stream and there was a drinking mechanic in it. Now again, it reminded me very much of the homebrew side of things, where it was like you have a drink, but don't get drunk. And we do that. We talk about that during the D8 Dungeon stream, that particularly in the late night ones, have a drink if you want to have a drink, but you are not getting drunk on stream. Like, that's just that is third in your mind. The first thing is have fun and enjoy the game. Second thing is help us raise money for charity. Way at the bottom of the list is drink. And I guess it's one of those things that like, hearing the system that you all have in place and how it's incorporated, like, because it is that thing, like, someone can just take a swig of their drink, call out its name, and then they tell the DM this is the effect. It's not drink that 40 ounce, smash the bottle over your head and you get advantage. Like, it's woven kind of into the game in a really, really fun and interesting way that you said, like, that leads to that extra little bit of randomness, that, like, you don't know when this is going to crop up and you don't know how this is going to impact it.
Except, and I think this is also part of the success of this, we give ourselves one night off a year, which is Paddy's Day, and we allow ourselves to get stupid. Like, they're unwatchable episodes in a lot of ways, but they're also very fun episodes in a lot of ways. And that's not to say that, like, we also know that if this isn't your thing, with drinking and with getting drunk in a show, comes crosstalk, comes table talk, comes missed information, comes not paying attention, comes stupid jokes and derailment, comes distractions. If that's not your version of entertainment and you want a more polished show, just hang around until campaign 2. Paul's doing a great job. No, but I mean that, like, we are to a taste because of it, and we're quite clear up front. What you see now at the start of this episode, don't be surprised if if we're in a different place by the end. And so often there was kind of multiple running jokes on Homebrew. There was Sunday Ben and Tuesday Ben. Sunday Ben would prep a little bit drunk. Tuesday Ben would come in sober and be like, "What is this?" And then slowly get on the same wavelength and be like, "Oh, Sunday Ben's a genius." But also I was able to, as the DM, turn around, and it's in one of our promo clips where I ask, like, 2 sessions later, it's like, "Did we get into this?" And Wes, I think, goes, "No, you said I'm too drunk, ask me later." So, like, you don't have to play. Is the knowing when to call the game is a really good sign. It's like, we're now there. We're gonna call it. It's probably a little bit harder now given the way we record, because we're recording kind of day sessions, as opposed to, I think it's very easy to stream for 2 or 3 hours, get a little bit drunk, and then pick it up in a week or 2. But to play for an entire day, and the energy that takes, and you know that, Declan, from Romance in the Dungeon, plus alcohol.
Yeah.
I think it works. We'll see. I think in the edits, it's seemingly working as well. So it's not, I don't think we've made a mistake. But Paul, you might know because you're closer to the content, and as DM, you'll know because there's an element there that is worth considering.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest learnings was the fact that, and this is even with alcohol, the marathon of recordings, having essentially the story beats in my head, so that I can be just like, nah, this is a good place to end. It's a good enough episode end to end kind of thing is important. It's once again, because we're kind of used to drinking, it always will be now in the back of my head kind of thing of going recognize good story beats to end on, and then do it. The only thing that adds a little bit of change to that is the fact is that there's going to be some in a lot of the recording. There's some stupid drunk joke that like is really funny and goes on for just a little too long, and but as a DM, you're kind of going, no, this is, and you're in the moment, you're kind of going, let this play out, and then we can fix it in the edit. So I think the learning is from any type of long marathon recordings, even without drink, and then just essentially just being extra vigilant on the sense of kind of going, no, remember the story beats, remember. So because I write them. I don't have a Sunday poll. I just write them completely sober, kind of thing. It's the fact is that
Insane.
I know, right? And then, but the problem is that I do get a little tipsy, and I'm just like, no,
To
let
catch a
this
thief,
go on.
Paul, to catch a thief, you have to become a thief. It's the only way to DM for drunken players is to be slightly tipsy when you plan.
My favorite part, Paul, there, as you were talking about, that little drunk joke that goes on a little too long, was Ben sitting there with this big innocent little head in him, kind of, yeah, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I wouldn't. And just like,
I would
I mean, I
never
know
do
we're
so.
all like in different parts of the country and stuff like that, but it was just the don't make eye contact with Paul right now. It was just that was the vibe I was getting off of Ben, in that. And I get Paul, like you, like again, it's one thing with players. I know Ben, you can speak to this as well, but it's one thing the players getting drunk. Like as the DM, you're holding on to the reins. Like I know
Mhm.
they're slack because you want the story to go where the players want to go, but when the players can't walk in a straight line, um, like what is the like? Is there another challenge there as the DM to kind of keep it? Um, I don't want to say locked down, but like without it going so. And I mean, Ben, you've told us a story before where it was like I had this huge city and this whole space that they were going to go over there, and it was all this, and they're like, actually, we're going that way, and you're like, ah, and I I can't imagine. Like sometimes I get stressed as the DM, and I'm sober, and it's like, oh, I put so much work into this, and you sober buttheads ruined it. Like, do you like? Is it like? Like, does there have to be a lot more? Is there a lot more patience required when it comes to this, or what's been your experience?
So yeah, it is like DMing on hard mode, because
Okay.
your players are already chaos cats.
Mm.
So you're already trying to wrangle them into story things. And the thing is that we are doing a show as well, so you kind of go, they gotta know that we're doing an entertainment thing, but they always
Mm.
go, yeah, but we're gonna do this, and you're kind of going, okay, I get the entertainment thing, but for story wise, so you are kind of playing it a little bit on hard mode. You do drink less as the DM, so like I do seem like I'm keeping up with them, but I am doing the normal kind of like nursing a drink and stuff. Um, so that part, you just like, honestly, you're talking so much as well that they describe me stuff that you can't really keep up with the rest of them. But I think it's weird. I think the level of kind of yeah, keeping your hand on the reins and stuff is just the same as any kind of DMing normally. You kind of have tricks and of the trades of kind of like diverting them from this path to the path that they need to be on. And it some ways it's sometimes a lot easier to do it because they're slightly drunk, so you can be just like, yeah, but you just go here, and they just
Okay.
go, is was that the decision? Yeah, okay, cool, let's so there's elements of slightly being easier to kind of trick them onto a path, And then just kind of, I guess, normal DM tricks as well, just the normal kind of DM keeping everybody on the road and everything. But I guess the extra element is sometimes actually just letting go of that as well. That's the hardest. I think that's the hardest part. Is the fact is that they'll go, yeah, I want to do this, and you're kind of going, okay, well, I've built this whole thing, and I know that that's the aim of it, but I think that it's actually quite fun to kind of let them steer into this area for a bit, and then kind of let them play out a little bit, and then kind of then bring it back onto the thing. I think it also refocuses a lot of people as well, because you're kind of going, let them be chaos lords for a bit, and eventually they'll all realize that they need to get back on track as characters. They'll get on back on track. So I don't think alcohol too much. So once again, I need to split it as a show. I don't think alcohol lends itself too much to being able to DM people. Like, I don't think there's any difficulty overall too much, like for a show. I can definitely understand from a home games perspective, because like, yeah, in both senses, you're trying to create a world, you're trying to create a story. One's a kind of a product, the other one is like your mates at home. So everybody slightly has their hand on the wheel of the show. No, like the DM is the only person who has their hand on the on the steering wheel for a home game. So I definitely think that a home game would be a lot more difficult to DM and wrangle people, whereas there's still the collective kind of creativity and story focus on a show. If that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, no, it does, but like, from an outside perspective, it's all right. So you have there's the DMing is a challenge anyway, right? So like DMing is it's fun, and you can learn it and you can pick it up, and you don't need to be, Brennan Lee Mulligan. You don't need to be any of these uh big DMs. So you can it just be you and a bunch of mates telling a story.
Mhm.
But that is still a challenge. There's still patience and energy and creativity and time. And then you're adding, well, now we're doing it for an audience, whether that's live or pre-recorded. There's going to be people watching this. So not only do we have to enjoy what we're doing, we want to make sure that the audience who are going to engage with this are going to enjoy it. So that's the next, you're compounding the challenge for the DM there. And then you're going, and actually, we're all going to be able to have a drink while we play as well, or a drink or two while we play as well. So I do, I have always kind of wondered, um, that extra, just that little bit of extra layer you were saying, about the drink side of it. But it was interesting to hear you say that, like, sometimes it is just about kind of letting go and just letting it be. And I get that's the thing that I think all DMs need to do a little bit of as well. It's that thing of actually just let go. Like, they'll take to the plan in one way or shape or form, and again, you do use your tricks to kind of get people back on side, or it's like, yeah, we open that door. Well, actually, that's the door that I needed to open, which is the thing that I already had planned, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're in the thing that I did. Yay. So there's that. And you, like, as Ben said, do you, like, you were doing tech for homebrew at the start? Would you drink along at that point, or were you sober?
Yeah, the tech part, I was completely sober. So me
Okay.
and which was Angus and stuff, were completely sober. Um, there was an element of kind of just having, because it was such a small space at the time, having sober people keep an eye on the equipment and keeping an eye on the stream and everything was important. So you got to see. Again, I guess that's a good point in the sense that I got to see kind of how levels of how far this could go and stuff. Um, Whereas now DMing, I guess the patience element of it is kind of important. You have to have a little bit more patience, and you do, if you do drink, you get that a little bit from the drink. But if you're completely sober DMing as well, which I have done as well with these guys, that that element, it's just patience. It's just kind of going, we need to. I know that we need to get on back track. We have a recording, timeline and everything, but you know, I I need these guys to get to here. So, but they're really interested in this part, and it could be good for storyline, and it could be good for just entertainment. So let's see how this plays out. it's so patience and being able to know when to cut it, like know to when to be just like, no, okay, that's it. The guards come and they take you away, and we're gonna transition scenes. So that's probably the two elements. Is just patience, a little bit more patience, and just knowing when to call it, and hopefully having your guys just be like, cool, yeah, we get it, we're probably off the rails, so this is the DM putting their foot down and following us, or getting us to go back onto track.
It's
um but it's pressure. I'll say that it is a lot of pressure on the DM themselves, because these guys could just ignore this. They can ignore
yeah.
everything you say.
It-
So having that kind of already pre-existing agreement of, oh, Paul's using DM voice, so now we have to stop, is a big thing. And I guess the other thing is, I would never recommend a first DM to ever involve alcohol at the table for the first time. You say that Homebrew was your first DMing. It was your first long campaign. It was your first
Cut the
D&D.
Oh my
I
god,
would
exclusive.
say
We've
that
got him. Clip it.
I'd say that it's your
yeah.
first long form campaign drinking, but
Yeah.
you've had experiences improving and a lot of other things that definitely helped the DMing while drinking.
Yes, yeah, you're right. That we had played. I didn't DM much, but I know we had played like a Star Wars one shot that I DM'd when I was
Yeah.
living over in Toronto. I don't know if I DM'd back in our original game ever, but I also had experience in different systems, and I think different systems gave me the confidence to go, well, the rules are kind of just there to to arbitrate if you need them to. Um, and you're right in that because I'd done comedy, and because I was used to being on stage like a pint in or something like that, then it was my kind of ability to perform while drunk had some experience and that I wasn't scared of being drunk and doing a job because when you do 30 days of the Edinburgh Fringe, most of the time you're sober doing your show. Sometime you're like, "Oh, fucking like we went for a pint because it was a networking thing, and then we do our show. But the same principles applied. We would eat, we would like sober up in a way, and then get on stage. And a lot of times, comedians, especially comedians starting out, have that kind of pint to a just under 2 pints of courage just to get that initial up. So I would say alcohol for me was probably that little boost into, I don't know if I can DM, but I do know I can drink with my friends and have fun. So
Yeah.
I can do it that way. And then the DM bit doesn't really matter because worst case scenario, I can always turn around and go, I was drunk. Like I didn't know what I was doing, not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because I was thinking a little slower, I was a bit sluggish. It it filled in the cracks in a way that is a little bit more forgiving. And you brought this up, Paul, with players. Players are also a little bit more forgiving when a little bit tipsy, or they know you're a little bit tipsy to be like, oh, this just happens. When that happens, like, man, I don't know. It just does. And that exact point of like, was that our plan? I guess it's our plan. Anyway, forward ho. And there's a lot, I feel like some of the homebrew games compared to maybe a convention game or some home games has a lot more forward momentum because we're like, oh yeah, why not? Let's just go for it. But I've been in sober games where it's like you're in front of a door and we spend 40 minutes being like, how do we plan to get it? It's like, just open the door or don't. Like, just let's go. And the opposite of patience there, tipsy players tend to want action because their brains are like, entertain me. And so you can push a show a little bit more forward when there's that restlessness in the air. And to Keith Allen's point in the chat, it can help you trust your instincts and just kind of go on gut more than overthink. There's a nice little overthink there.
Mm.
But this is all like we've mostly talked about streaming and podcasting and shows. I think it'd be really useful for us to talk about how those skills or how those learnings apply to a home game, because I think it's more likely in a home game that someone will get kind of intoxicated or overindulge. Like you said earlier, Declan, it's kind of like, I'll have a glass.
Mm.
I'm kind of got distracted. Now I'm 4 glasses in, and now you're that player who's playing a board game or playing a TTRPG. And it's like, could you just pay attention? Or could
Yeah.
you like, we're not here to drink, we're here to play. So don't let it disrupt. And so for home games, we were chatting a little bit before the stream, and maybe we can like share a couple of things each and go round table on it. But I'll start with the same thing applies. I assume every table is a dry table unless explicitly stated by the DM or if a player brings it up and it's accepted that it's okay to have a drink here. So I won't. I'm almost certain I've held that to my entire life, or at the very least, ever since homebrew. I won't just rock up and drink without it being told that it's okay, because that's like golden rule one for everyone to be on the same page and on the same wavelength. So like I know that's one of the things to bring into every game is just if you like to have a drink when you play, ask your DM, ask the table. You do make it part of your session 0.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that sentiment as part of kind of your setup and everything. Ask, is this a grimdark world? Can I drink? They're all similar questions at your kind of session 0 or just straight up towards the DM kind of thing. Because yeah, I've had, or just even so our first kind of like 3.5 game. It was actually session per session kind of thing of like whether we drank or not. Because sometimes we'd be like, it's the middle of the day, and then other times it was like for some reason we're gonna do it in the middle of this party.
Yeah.
So like it was the vibe on session to session. So like yeah, the DM once again DM has the sole responsibility.
If you're piecing it together, Declan, yes, myself and Paul used to leave parties and play D&D at the party with the couple of people.
Oh, I sat there. There was no judgment. I mean, I heard it. I took it in. There was no judgment.
Yeah, they're like, well, we just go upstairs and play a quick game of D&D, and we'll be back down to this party before they even know.
I'm just really upset that I didn't go to any of those parties. That would have been fun. I used to just get my friends together, go upstairs into someone's room and just do the Ouija board. Yeah, that was my look. It's all gateways to Satanism. So
true.
Yeah. And one way or other, we're opening gates to hell. Yeah.
Specifically one game.
I don't know. I'm just not really into it. Like in a home game. Like, is it if I'm invited for that vampire homebrew thing?
We're gonna call it the Brood, which is a very good name.
Yeah.
Is that again? Do we want to look at the SEO first, though? Just to
no, B or
no.
Brood.
You're killing me here, man.
I just saw Paul Twitch. In a home game, I guess because it obviously it does come back to this was all discussed and everybody. I personally I don't drink, and I do see Kitalan's point. About like a drink can kind of help with that a little bit of the nerves or that anxiety. I'm in a fortunate position where that I don't get anxiety from this, especially in a home game. But like even in streaming, I like this. I'm a middle child. Like I get the attention buzz. Like that's my little tipple of booze. But I even in a home game, like when we there's a friends of ours, another couple here in Limerick who we both enjoy board games, and we would meet up fairly regularly. We go to their house, they come to our house, and like even when we're here in our own home, I rarely have a drink when I'm playing the board game because that's the thing I want to do. Like if it is sit around and let's all have a drink and have a chat and just play something casual, great. But if it's we're coming over here to do this thing, that for me is my primary focus. But if I was at a home game and it had been said, look, well, actually, this person's going to have a drink and the GM is going to have a drink, I'm like, yeah, fine, totally cool. I think I would have an issue with it, though, where that became the focus. Like, it's the remember we got here to play this game. Like and I have no problem with you having, a pint or an espresso martini or a whiskey or whatever like that. But when the whole flow keeps getting interrupted because the drink is involved, then there was a little part of me that said that like John B. Keane, but like when there is alcohol involved, and that becomes the primary focus, just get together and like that and go to the party and just have a party.
Mhm.
And then there'll be a group of people upstairs who want to play D&D or a TTRPG. So again, now that's not to say my college, and you can infer from this because I won't say anything else. You can infer from this my college games were very heady. Um, and there was a nice chilled vibe when we played. Um, and like again, there was a little bit of that, like there was a lot more trust there. People were flowing kind of with the ideas. Everybody was a bit more kind of into it. And then part of me is like, was that crap? Was that crap? And we were just inebriated and thought it was great. Anyway, in which case, great. We all have fond memories of it. But again, for me, it's if I'm getting together to have a drink, I'm getting to have a drink. If I'm getting to your house to play a TTRPG, I want to play a TTRPG. You can have a drink. I might have a drink, but I want to play the game. Is my take.
So that's I think that's where the easiness of like streaming versus home, because streaming it automatically has that kind of focus. But yeah, the home game is just it's always a danger in that sense of kind of going, we're getting together, we're gonna have some of us are gonna have drinks and everything, and it is, there's tons of times we've been playing board games, and just several people have just completely lost interest because they're slowly getting drunk, and the focus just goes off it. So like, once again, I think home games, it's always going to be a danger. So first of all, I always think of shaming anyone oh yeah, the DM's going to drink and another player's going to drink. Shaming anyone at the table for not drinking is automatically do not be at that table.
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
for
thing.
cool kids only. Only cool people like me can shame other nerds. No, I wholeheartedly agree. I think both ways. In that sense, where it's just like, I'm gonna have a drink. It's like, oh, it's like I'm just having a drink. It's fine.
Mhm.
Versus like, I'm not gonna drink. It's like, oh well, we are all gonna. It's like, nope, no. Like everyone gets to set their own decision when it comes to that at a table, and that goes for drink, and it goes for anything else that people might like imbibe or have at a table.
Mhm.
Although I don't think for hard drugs you also find, prove me wrong, world, or don't, but like I don't think there's like TTRPG hard drug takers being like, let's go play and shoot up. So I
Well,
don't
I've
see
got
that
news
being.
for the both of you. I'm launching a rival stream. Hard drugs quest.
No,
To see
our
the
audience will
SEO is
love
so
it.
much better.
Sorry, Paul, but you were saying before I rudely interrupted.
No. I think the only aspect that I always have a difficulty, in this context of talking to you guys about like DMing and TTRPG and drinking stuff like that, I am fine. I am perfectly fine. When I have to put on a stupid voice because we've decided that we're now in a fantasy world, I'm an incredibly anxiety and shy person. So I've always had that like slow crutch of alcohol being there. And I've always had that kind of like, oh, if I have a couple of drinks, I'll maybe loosen up and stuff like that. The problem is that that is never a full thought in your head of when that is. So like you'll
Mhm.
just keep drinking until you are then the problem at the table. So like like Keith Allen's like thing of like it loosens you up. It does. Like if you think that one or two drinks are the thing that loosens you up, then that's fine, and that's where you stop. If you're like me, who's just like, I don't know when that is,
Mm.
so let's keep going until we find out. But then you get too many drinks in, because you'll see in the arc later on, the later episodes is later on in the night, and I do loosen up a little bit more as we go on. I'm fine. I'm telling a story. I'm perfect. I'm introducing them to characters, and I'm still good. My characters do get slightly better, voice wise and acting wise, as I get drunk. But I have to be very careful of that, because that is a huge, big problem. Because like I would always be like, try to just trust the table. Like maybe have a drink and maybe just trust the table. Don't have a drink, trust the table. For
Mm.
no one's going to really slag you that your Goliath bartender sounds exactly like you, and your maiden of the lake sounds exactly like the bartender.
Yeah.
No one's really going to have a problem at that. So I'm always cautious of even saying, yeah, have a drink. It might help you with RPing and stuff. Like, it's such a
Yeah,
dangerous thing.
there's a slippery slope inherent in it where you're like, well, that worked, so I'll do it again, or like, well, I'm still nervous because like it's alcohol for confidence is a whatever that phrase is where it's like a cure, but it's not the symptom, or it's not the like it doesn't eradicate the underlying symptom, which is not being confident in these things. And if you find yourself leaning on alcohol for that sort of liquid courage or for that kind of like little boost it gives, I recommend during your week or in the run up to your sessions, or whether you're a player or a DM or you're practicing, different voices, to practice them sober. Don't just go, oh well, I'll have a drink and hopefully it will come to me. Like, give yourself the best chance of not having to lean on it as a crutch as you possibly can. And not only will it be worthwhile because the work you do there is valuable, but you'll find that you might like for us in homebrew, it's like we enjoy having a drink at the table. We're not really using it as much of kind of like, well, this is going to cover all these things. Despite what I was saying earlier when I was just like, well, this cover up my shit DMing. Sure, maybe, but like I wasn't secretly tricking my friends being into, haha, now I can cover up my shit DMing. But the first and foremost, it was just kind of there as a thing. We all happened to play games together drinking anyway. So that thing Paul was just talking about, like that point in an evening where it's just like, and some like I would say 5 times, maybe 6 times out of 10, it's me in our home games where I'm just like, I'm kind of disinterested now and bored and I'm going to leave. Except for when it came to those parties with the 3.5, where I got annoyed with other people. It's like, what? You're going down to the cool party where there's cool people? Get back here. There's a story to be told. But in board games, I'm usually a bit of a like, well, I'm the social player anyway, so I'm not gonna. The game isn't gonna hinge on my winning or losing. So I'm just kind of half focused. Here's my turn. Best of luck. Which is why I'm annoying to play with at times, and that's totally fine. Declan's like, I'm never inviting you over to play Bonk again.
Jesus God. It's worse than when you do win because you're like, well, we all had fun. I'm like, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. You had fun because you won. I had no fun because I have lost. Um, I Are there any sort of from the years that you've been doing homebrew quest and stuff like that, if there's somebody else that's like, I think we might try incorporate it into a one shot for our stream or that, is there, do either of you have any advice for somebody who's considering bringing like a little bit of alcohol or whatever it might be into their stream, more so than
And give away our secrets? No.
just Ben, just
um,
give them bad advice. I didn't say that to be good advice.
yeah, drink loads beforehand. Don't eat.
Don't.
The I might give a piece of advice, and then Paul, you like, hoping it's not the same piece of advice. I would recommend doing it once, not on stream, just in a do the home game version first, and but pretend there's cameras, pretend there's microphones, because that's what we did. We did like a couple of practice sessions where we right up to the point of like we set up the tech. We said, okay, from like so our show was going live at 8, so like we'd all meet at like 6:30, 7:15. We'd set up stuff. We'd pretend we were going live, and we'd go live. But then we'd just play the game, and then we'd take our breaks. And so doing dress rehearsals was a really good thing. If it's going to be a long term um part of your stream or show, a dress rehearsal it. I think it's a danger when it's one shots, because one shots have this inherent sort of world of, well, I'm going to get my character dead. I'm going to like everything's already sort of not lower stakes, but kind of I could do anything. That I've noticed in one shots, especially one such I watch, or if I'm part of one shots where they're like, it's okay to have a drink. That's where you get that player who's had too many because they're like, ah, it's a one shot, whatever. And you're like, all right, but like, this is still a thing. It's still a show. We should still have a little bit of awareness of what something like alcohol can have to our ability to perform, to our ability to enunciate, to our ability to
Mhm.
pay attention to the fact that there's a camera and people and not get distracted. So I would say one shots, not that there's advice there, but they're just it's not going to add to your one shot as much as you think it will if you just left it out.
Yeah, I think that's a fairly good. I don't think it can be fun in the sense of adding randomness, but overall, it shouldn't be kind of the thing that makes your show in any way enjoyable and watchable kind of thing. My advice for anyone who wants to bring it into their games, especially on stream or at home, um, is so it's twofold. Have a conversation about it. Make sure that everybody understands that there's a focus there underneath kind of the drinking that you still need to do. And then specifically, I'd recommend for maybe the first 2 sessions or so that the DM does not drink, just so that they can keep control on things. I've had this conversation with a lot of people actually weirdly at AdventureCon, which is the responsibility of the DM is incredibly under like thought of in a way. Yes, we have safety tools, but there's so much more to it, especially when you're like I've DM'd a few times at home games when I'm doing a show, and it's like, wow, okay, there's a lot more. And looking at the community in general, the DM has incredible powers and responsibilities, which I am only really taking on board like a lot more now. But so my suggestion would be if you are introducing alcohol into your games, the DM should not drink for maybe the first 2 sessions, just to keep things under control. And then as you get more and more used to it, and your players do, maybe have less than they do for a good portion of it. So
No,
Yeah,
that's
I agree with that.
yeah, it's interesting because I like it is like it comes back to what I was saying earlier. Like it's that the compounding of the levels of responsibility. You know, and like most of that lands on the DM because it's the player's responsibility is to show up, pay attention, engage, and make sure that they're aware of lines and veils and safety tools, right? So that's their bubble. And then the DM has everything else. And there is a shared, there's a mutual understanding between party and DM. But again, so much of it does fall back, I think, on the DM. I think it's just ultimately where there's a group and then there's a leader in that group or there's a main voice in that group. Everyone does kind of go, well, that was on you. It's like it's the group project days. It was like, well, you led the group project, so ultimately you're the one responsible. You're like, okie dokie. So I think that is interesting advice that if you are going to do it, let everybody else have a drink and you approach it sober. Because I do think it's also a thing of like again, Paul, it goes back to what you're saying was sometimes letting go of the reins. That's it's really good advice and it was a really nice way to view it, but that's also difficult. You know what I mean? And like if you're in that scenario and everybody else is, having a drink or a second drink, whatever it might be, you're like, I don't like letting go of the reins that much. I don't like letting go and having to, riff off the top of my head or stitch those things together. Um, Again, you were saying, it particularly, if you're starting out, don't drink. Um, I I definitely vibe with that in a really big way. I just as someone who has a lot of difficulty with kind of like after the session going, oh, that did not go the way I thought it was going to go, and I imagine with a little bit of drink in my system that also wouldn't help me. Like I would imagine it wouldn't be ideal for the way my brain operates and the way I kind of post analyze a session and stuff like that. So it is interesting. Ben, you were asking, if people have a particular our prompt tonight was that, is there a particular drink that you like to have? What's yours?
Mine?
Mm.
That's a good question. I'll answer it twice: home games and homebrew streams. Homebrew, I've pretty much found the formula of start light, end heavy. So like, and it might be that I never get to the heavy one, and that's totally fine. So I'll usually, and this goes for when I was DMing, and it goes into. Sorry, I'm saying this fully aware that I started the very first episode. The next thing was me with a sword of cognac. So that that aside, that was only because we were back and we were excited. But I tend to start on like 2-3% and then work my way up. And I think that's just generally good drinking advice in any situation where you're going to be drinking across a couple of hours. And so I love a Northern Lights for that. They're hard to come by. They're by Whiplash, but they're table beers essentially. And in home games, it's kind of the same. I do the same kind of practice. Like homebrew came out of the fact that I was playing a home game in Toronto and sort of, and there's like I think the finale of that I probably was that player who I was about to go home, flying back. I'm going to say goodbye to all these friends. We play the last kind of session of this big campaign we're doing, and I know that like I don't remember the last half hour. I know because we started playing in the morning and we ended at night, but I also have that sense that I'm like I don't think anyone else does either. We were all just kind of getting together for a party where we played D&D. And as time went by, the the vibe of the room changed from focus to not focus. That kind of, So,
Mhm.
but it was collective, I think. At least I wasn't the only one. So since then, I like bringing multiple different types. So, like, I don't have a go-to. Um, but during those games, it was just a very simple pilsner. I just loved like you pick up a six bottles of just a clean craft pilsner. So it's like imagine your Heinekens or your Millers, but like made by people who can make good beer. And it was just like these are just nice, easy drinking things. So I would have those mostly. Um, that would be the drink of choice. And I don't tend to actually, weirdly enough, I don't tend to drink that much playing board games or on. Like I think the last time we all got together and played a board game that I was there, we played Blood in the Cock Tower, and I think I had like 2 small cans of Little Fawn, which is by White Hag, and they're just again session beers. So, despite my online brand, I don't actually drink that much playing games. Mostly because I do it, it's all the quota is achieved by homebrew, so I don't tend to do it the rest of my life. And tonight I'm just drinking a simple Guinness in an Island's Edge can, and then drinking a cup of tea beside it, which I think is also a good practice. If you have a beer at the table, have a water at the table beside you, and switch back and forth. You'll see me in homebrew doing that quite often. Where I'll pick up the continuity of glasses, if we cared about such a thing, would be totally whack on homebrew on our records because there's like 7 different liquids around me, and I'm just like grabbing one and another. So that's the as Keaton says, I was just going to say beer. That's probably my answer. My answer is beer.
Beer.
Yeah, beer. With just different types. What about you, Paul? Do you have a go? I know one of your go-tos, but I don't think the audience know.
I think rum is probably my go-to drink, which is probably quite extreme, kind of thing. So I get, but I think automatically with rum or with spirits, you're automatically going to be drinking slower than a lot of other people, because you already know the danger that you're in, kind of thing. I drank beers, in the Ark, kind of thing. But I think so yeah, rums and beers are kind of my thing. Yeah. And yeah, starting slow is really important and having water and consistently. But yeah, to bring it to Declan thing, I think you were saying about the prompt of this session. I would say that alcohol is is a big decision for anyone at the table. Because it can end up ruining it can ruin games, and also it can enhance them. Drink is a very difficult decision at a table, for me anyway. I know homebrew does it. We do it really well. We have experience. We also let our hair down when when St. Paddy's Day comes in. It kind of like resets us for a year, kind of thing. But it is very much, I would say, a difficult decision at the table, whether to drink or not, kind of thing. And it's okay. It's okay if you drink or not, kind of thing. It's just that there's always that level of kind of, yeah, this could be more fun, or this could be way more not fun, kind of thing. So it's an interesting topic. I'd say that.
Mm. Again, I said I'm not a big drinker in general. I I just I'm just not. I think I might have drank a little bit more than because my husband doesn't drink. I don't really drink a whole pile or as often, just because I'm conscious that the person with me is sober, and I also am aware of how annoying I am when I'm drunk. So again, I remember, I do remember I was quite drunk uh, in the Homebrew Quest session. Now, I was drunk for Declan, which for everybody else is like he's had like 2 drinks. I drank a bottle of wine in that stream. It was Dada. Not that this stream is sponsored by Dada, but it was a number 6, and I do like I'm a wine drinker more than I like a beer. But my problem with beers is the gas. And just being a little bit extra. Howdy, let's get rowdy. Why didn't we think of that? uh, damn it, Stool. But yeah, look. Again, I think a lot of this has come back to moderation as well. That the purpose of the game isn't who can get drunk the fastest. We're not playing drinking games. We're playing a TTRPG game, and you can have a drink. That's kind of where it kind of goes. Can I ask a really I was going to ask kind of a bit of I don't know if it's an absurd question. I don't know if it's a personal question. How do you deal with the hangover after a Homebrew Quest episode? Because those were on.
Wait, what?
Oh, God.
I get one an episode.
You get one a season.
And tune in for next season.
2 weeks time.
That is a good.
Because
that's a good question. Paul, do you want to answer first, and then we'll?
It was Tuesdays, right? It was Tuesday nights. Homebrew Quest was live Tuesday nights, so that's work Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Well, actually, then you should. Yeah, if we're doing from stream times, then Ben, you should answer that, because I didn't drink when I was doing the tech stream parts. But for the records, yeah, we record on a Friday and then we record on Saturdays, and I find that the excitement of everybody being together on the Friday was a lot better than any of the drinks. So we didn't really drink that much on the Friday.
Okay.
The Saturday was like a marathon of drinking. So like, yeah, the next day was a problem. So for me, it's if you consistently we breakfast, we lunch, and we dinner. Like, we make those specific staples. And we eat big. Water always throughout the day. The next day, try to get as much sleep. Beer leaches sugars, so try to get some sugary drinks into you, some salts. Like, orange juice is really good. It's kind of like getting over a sickness, but like you've done it to yourself. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. But if you eating properly and then drinking water was really did help hangovers from the long records kind of thing. So
yeah, I think we learned as well. We didn't jump straight into new long form story, like we didn't go straight into Paul's campaign. We did a couple of like test weekends, and in those test weekends we very quickly went from, okay, we might have had too much on. We definitely, one of our early ones was like we had too much on Friday, so Saturday we started late, and then Sunday we were like, we like dragged ourselves through, and then like immediately we're like, okay, so Fridays it's important that we don't drink that much. That's good to know. And it was kind of a nice to all meet up and hang out, and we knew that we weren't really recording stuff that we're going to release, so there wasn't that kind of show like let's make something good in the back of our heads. And like that let our guards down, I think, a little. So we've since kind of stopped recording on Sundays, because we're like, there's no real, like, we were doing full weekends, and then it was just a bit of a drag because it's a slog in any shape or form. And we started drinking less or barely at all on Fridays. We might just crack into 1 or 2 just to kind of get the and then you go to sleep and you wake up the next day. So that way the hangovers were fairly managed. I also find, just for me personally, as I've gotten older, I drink less. That's like one of the last homebrew records we did. I still had loads of beers in front of me, and I was just like, I think I'm full. Like, I think there's so much bubbles in my tummy that I can't possibly have anything else. And I'm just happily buzzed. And I knew that I was at like a good, like playful buzz, not like disruptive. So I was like, I'm just going to stay here. And I knew I had because of our experience, because of our, doing the show, had the ability to go, oh yeah, that's going to be the case. For our, for our live stream way back when, the ones when we were all in person, I think we just naturally drank less anyway because we knew work was in the morning, so that you'd only have like 1 or 2. In When the pandemic happened, we all went remote, we drank a little more, but it was also pandemic time, so you got that extra kind of like hour or 2 in bed. There was no commute. So like you suddenly kind of went like, "Oh, right, I can still go to bed at 12, like have a good like glass of water, maintain that same kind of good discipline on food and like hydration, and still wake up and be totally fine for work on like by 8, 9 a.m. the next day." Because again, we're not binging. Like I don't like the most we'd ever drink is a Paddy's Day episode. And even then I don't think anyone's going more than like 6 pints, which is still a lot of sorry, I know in our very first one we did and our Paddy's one we did a lot, but we purposely put in a mechanic where you downed something to get someone to re-roll. It became I don't know if we ever brought that back. It was just
Yeah, we wanted to, but that
yeah.
was a chaos system, which was because I think we did the normal one shot thing where we didn't do it at the start. We did it like, and then one person was like, "Wait a minute, there's no limit on this. I can literally
Mm.
just be like, oh, I failed. I'll just drink a drink, and then like I can just re-roll, and if I fail again, I can just do it again." When we all realized that, that's when just everything went off the table
Yeah.
for that Paddy's Steak
And
week.
we knew that none of us had work the next day.
Yeah,
We had recorded on a day in which there was a clear day the next day as well. I still said that was quite the episode. It sure was. I always think it's a good episode of Homebrew to watch because if you can survive it, you'll survive our show. Like if you find that enjoyable and you came on that journey with us and you're like, I kind of like the vibe here and I kind of like what's going on. There is there's no episode of Homebrew you won't enjoy. Um, because that's it at its absolute max. But hangover wise, the other thing is like I'm just a fiend for diurolites and things that replenish my salts, and I do that anyway. You know, I'm the guy at the party who has diurolites in his pocket. I'm the guy at a wedding who's just like, I'm gonna go take a diurolite because it's gonna help me out in the morning. I hate hangovers, so um I will actively try to avoid them where I can and build it in. And I think that's eat, stay hydrated, pace yourself, all these things minimize the hangover by the end of the day. Um, and yeah, but to Zill's point, beer magic was something we came to, as you know from watching the campaign, something we came to late. We've kept it on for the stuff that we recorded and we're editing together at the moment. Um, I was kind of surprised we'd never seen it because it wouldn't have blown me away if someone's like, "Oh, this one show did do this once, but they no longer exist, or they kind of ran out of steam, or that kind of that happens sometimes where you're like, oh, that was a mechanic from something else before." Um, so it's nice that we have it, and no bigger shows that like wouldn't have ever seen us have stumbled across it. It's not like Dimension 20. Let's get howdy howdy. Let's get rowdy. It's coming out next season.
Well,
But it would only be good for us if it did, because we go, "Oh, if you enjoyed that, here's all this stuff from pre-pandemic and onwards that you might enjoy."
I'm gonna if I know we've again, Ben, you'd be shocked to learn we've gone over time. Um,
Wait,
nope, you
I have
used
a
it.
sound effect for this.
You used it. You used it. I if we have time for another question, um, what's been your favorite moment brought on by either the beer magic mechanic or just the kind of that again you've talked about that random little kind of chaos that comes with the drink in your system. Is there a particular moment that stands out for either of you? Either in I know Paul, season two, we're for campaign two, we're waiting, but so if you don't want to give us, or maybe you do want to give us a bit of a, well, we know about Ben's sword cognac sword. Is it a sword cognac or a cognac sword?
Sword of Cognac.
It
Sword
was a
of
sort of
cognac.
cognac.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, so you know
Yes,
about that.
Yeah.
It's that's it I'm going to tell you now. I don't think it was worth the bit. Who knows? But yeah, Paul, I don't know if you want to answer favorite beer inspired
Uh,
name.
so yeah, there actually weirdly, so favorite beer magic time within the new season. Yeah, I have one specific one that definitely screwed me over and made me go, oh, I need to plan for this now. Kind of thing, which was very funny. So I won't maybe when we release it, I'll be just like, this is the bit. Um but from Homebrew like season one, the Hibernia tales, um the hag, I think it's Snake Bite or
Snake Dog.
yeah, Snake Dog. I think that was the moment when, because I think it's the first moment where we truly named something after a beer, and the way that there's like this, like Ben goes, "What are we gonna name this?" And it's just like, and then he goes, "Oh, Snake Dog." There's like a 2 second pause where the rest, everybody else catches up to the idea that this, hag is now a called Snake, which goes, and it's a great moment where everybody just bursts out laughing, and everybody's just, it just kind of really solidified the system of kind of naming things in the world after beers at the table, kind of thing. So like, that's probably one of, it's my first and favorite moment so far of
Mm.
the beer magic or the beer naming part. Beer magic is inherently chaos, so there's tons of those kind of things. I think it's like, what is it? A good ending? That was the
Perfect ending.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
Could
good.
not have found a better beer for that.
Yeah. I think you're right on Snake Dog, because Snake Dog, I think, was the first time we realized we were beholden to it. We had like Citra, and everything else sounded like a name. We were trying to justify, like, the town of Mickler was like there. Um, the fact that we'd come across Backwards Bastard or something, who'd still felt right. It was still like we hadn't broken the canon of the world. But the Snake Dog was when we realized this is going to lead to some silly stuff that we have to, like, I guess that's what we're calling it. That the sort of expression on both my face as a DM being like, we can't, this is so silly, we can't do it. And everyone else being like, we're doing it. It's like, okay. And from then, like, people's names became quite funny stuff, because it was just like it didn't have to sound like a name. And I think before that we were trying to find things that sounded like places, things that sounded like first names, things that sounded like different things. Where Snake Dog was, yeah, on the money. I'm trying to think what my favorite beer magic or beer naming convention has been. There is loads in case you haven't noticed, Declan, we don't, at least I don't know, is it like campaign 2? Is it season 2? Is it
Yeah.
just homebrew, like this arc? We don't even know what we're calling the other one. We kind of called it campaign 1, but I think we'll probably sort of shift that to, like, homebrew Hibernia, and figure it out that way. So they're not like, they're not books, they're not seasons, they're not arcs, because the length of things will change as well. The thing we've currently recorded will be like an ongoing, like, multi-part thing, but there'll be small stuff in between. Maybe a little bit like Fantasy High, the way there's like season 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
But it won't be all out at once. So I'm trying to think in our original game. Was Boy Blade because of drunkenness? Did I accidentally say something wrong and then Boy Blade became a thing? Because I think that feels like I stumbled over words, or
Y-
someone did. And
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was, yeah, that was a mispronunciation of something. And I think we just stuck with it.
Yeah, that's probably my answer, where it was this idea that I think one of us mispronounced Beyblade or Boyblade, and then it was just a tiny child strapped to someone's wrist with daggers that they could, like, release like a Beyblade, which weirdly at the time wasn't a popular show, or like it wasn't like the as popular as it is now. Like, when I talk to my nephew now, he's like, Beyblades. I'm like, Beyblades weren't even that big when I was a kid. How has this come back? They've come back in a huge way. Probably always big in Japan, but at least in Ireland, hadn't really taken off. Um, so it was pulled. I think that landed because it was kind of pulled from an ether, in a sort of like, remember that thing reference, not as a kind of like, oh yeah, one of the biggest selling toys of all time today. Because there, I tell you, I learned a lot about Beyblades over Christmas researching toys for my nephew. You can take them apart, you can recombine them. There's different like mechanics. There is a world there that I'd never seen that is complex and nerdy, and I'm glad my nephew's into it.
Well, Ben, I think we have a lot to talk about after the show.
Yeah, show me your cool wizard arc and your rhino fire and phoenix spike. Sting unicorn. Sting unicorn's definitely one. I couldn't find
Yeah,
it
that's
anywhere.
true.
It's very expensive and it comes from Japan.
Jack, do you have a favorite moment just from the?
Declan's never seen the show.
I don't. The time I was on it, obviously.
Who are you? Yeah.
For me, I actually think it like I think it was the finale, and I know Ben, you weren't there, which kind of makes it feel like, but like
Yeah,
again, because it comes back. Like for me, it just comes back to the shenanigans, and I was really inspired with the way you've incorporated different aspects of it, like like I don't know, maybe it's a fever dream, maybe I've imagined Randier was homebrewing all the time, right? That was
Mhm.
was that yeah, right?
Yeah.
That stuff to me is always really I like I love those bits of things because it makes it really feel like it's actually a part of this and not just a bit. It's not just the thing that's over there. Do I have a favorite bit? Yeah, but it's probably got to do with Wes. Sorry.
It's fair.
Or Lucy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
neither of you.
Lucy had some good brews. Yeah. Lucy would always come on with a Lemsip or a Smithix or just like a Carlsberg.
There was no
It
in
like, "We're
between.
trying." Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. No, that's fair. And so there's no hope of a drunken romance in the dungeon ever again. It's dead to the world.
Nope.
It's fair. Yeah.
I literally, you cannot convince. There, no amount of money, no amount of pressure would ever convince me to release that episode.
€3.77.
Damn it. Fine. Revolut me now. Okay, I'll get it ready up on Simplecast. No, it was awful. We didn't do it the right way. Like we really didn't understand what we were doing. We thought this would be a lot of fun. Like I've said this a couple of times, but the work that it adds to the game, because it does, it's another level that you have to be mindful of. It's something we didn't. We were a bunch of idiots with some recording equipment and booze, and not a lot of booze. Like I said, like it wasn't an egregious amount of alcohol that was consumed. It was just we hadn't eaten properly. We were exhausted from a full day's work. Already recording. We'd recorded 2 or 3 episodes at that point, I think. And then it was like, oh, do you know what? Let's do this one shot. It'll be great crack. I don't know. I did write a Romancing the Dungeon homebrew crossover.
Yes.
Again, where it was beer magic in Romancing the Dungeon. And maybe that's something we talk about.
Bring it in. Yeah. If we need some between the end of campaign 1 and if we need something just as a palette cleanse between campaign 2, it's probably a good little thing.
And it's awful.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely, it's awful. Because it's the idea is it's Nate and Hephaestus' first date. But because Nate's an idiot, it's also a job. So they have to escort some really expensive booze to a space, and there's also a few mercenaries, homebrew quest mercenaries on side to this, but it's these 2 idiots. What did I call it? It even had a name.
Wine something.
Yeah.
Wine country?
Wine country, yeah, with an H.
Yeah.
So it was either Nate and Hephaestus' first date or when Nate dumped Hephaestus. I think the dump might be more fun. And chaotic, especially if you do the booze. But if that was something, yes, Zoo will get wine with an H. Yeah. Don't worry, I love a pun too. But yeah, it's not our cup of gin.
Fair. Totally fair. I think we've covered a lot of good advice and how to drink safely at the table. And if we haven't, you'll see all the things we talked about in practice over on Homebrew Quest. It's all there. Um, but is there anything first, before we go into what's happening next, Ben and Declan On A Roll, Paul, thank you so much for coming on and joining and chatting booze. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was
Um,
very fun. Thank you for having me.
no, not at all. Is there anywhere that people can find you? Obviously, you will be DMing the next homebrew. But aside from there, there's other things that you do.
Yeah, so which is DM Paul Nexus is what my handle on social media. Which is I'm taking a part in some other shows other than Homebrew, which is on the CTRPG, which is I'm hoping to be on D8 at some point. Hear Us Out is another show that I do, which is about movie and TV commentary on the industry, on the entertainment industry as a general thing. So we don't do really kind of movie reviews and TV reviews. We'll do like Markiplier's new movie has really screwed over the way that movies are made now, kind of information. So yeah. But that's it.
That sounds
Thanks
great.
for having me.
No, not at all. And then, Declan, do we have I know we'll be mid potentially Daffodil Day that we usually take part in.
Yes.
It will be one of our Thursdays in 2 weeks' time. So potentially there is something
No, there is.
there, whether it's a game or
yeah,
whether it's
yeah. There's going to
Or stream.
be we have traditionally suspended any kind of campaigns, any stuff that we do the week of Daffodil Day to raise money for the Irish Cancer Society. That is something I really want to do. So we're talking at the moment with the gang about like, can we run streams across the week? So it might be that the next Ben and Declan On A Roll is actually a Ben and Declan one shot. My brain just had a light bulb moment.
So the next Ben and Declan will definitely be a one shot. Declan has an idea.
I have an idea.
Great.
Yep. You also have to be in it, but just so you know. So it is
Oh,
Ben and Declan On A Roll with a one shot. And I think it could be a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'm going to message you afterwards. I'm going to send you a really annoying voice note afterwards while I have the idea. So we're hopefully going to have 5 games across the 5 nights, but there's a lot of the D8 Dungeon gang are caught up at the moment with projects and work and real life stuff. I know I'm down to run at least 2 games, and then we'll see what we can do the rest of the nights. But we do really want to make sure that we support the Irish Cancer Society again this year and all the work that they are doing. I also before, and then Ben, I will bounce over to you in 2 seconds when it comes to our little outro. I also want to mention, because we've just been talking about alcohol and other substances at the table, it would be important to kind of mention that there are resources online to do with alcohol and drinking habits. So if any of the topics that we're talking about tonight have affected you in any way, even if you're not in Ireland, there's a fantastic website called drinkaware.ie. Ben already mentioned it, that we have all these resources and stuff that are available to us. It's not just, about alcoholism. It's about sober careers people, and how to kind of become aware of what alcohol and other substances might kind of impact they might have on your life. So if you want any more information about that, if you want any of those resources, visit drinkaware.ie. I'm going to look for somebody to raid if you want to vamp.
Nice.
If you want to.
Yeah. I can do a real cool vamp this time. Thank you so much for listening to Ben and Declan On A Roll. This has been a stream production by D8 Dungeon with special guest Paul, also known as @DM Paul's Nexus. Give Paul a follow on all social media.
It was enjoyable to be on the last Ben and Declan On A Roll, I guess.
Declan, you're laughing. Go.
Tune in in 2 weeks' time for Declan and Paul on a roll.
You should be rating, finding people to rate.
I'm rating.
I can't. This has been the Midnight Hour over at D8 Dungeon, and we're about to join our friends in some other channel. Stick around if you can. And yes, I have gotten myself a new fancy mic, and that's why I'm doing these bits. It's a lot of fun.
Boys and their
Man, I wish I was a late night, like easy listening jazz, yacht rock DJ. That would be a lot of fun. Um, you, I mean this purely for the bit it is, but you've no idea how tempted I was when you were giving the very serious bit to just throw one of these in. But I knew it would be in bad taste, so I thought I'd leave some time between the very important information you gave and that as a sound effect. So with
Thank you
that,
for resisting the urge.
you're welcome. I didn't resist entirely. I still had to let people know that there was a bit in me that needed to get out. But yeah, who we heading over to, and who's sticking around to help us raid?
We can. There's a couple of our friends are streaming at the moment, so I'm like, oh no, who do I jump in on? We haven't dropped in on Deranged Rhino for a while.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's go say hello to Ryan. And to answer your question, Zool, I gave myself that power, my income. Sadly,
You did.
I was doing some difficult but important personal stuff in my life, and that gave me a lot of free time to sit around in in places and was like, I'm going to treat myself because I'm nothing if not a child. So I did a good thing, and I bought myself something annoying because of it. And that's that story with none of the details.
On that note, we're gonna
And with that,
we're bouncing to the credits. We're gonna rage Deranged Rhino. Keep an eye out on the D8 Dungeon socials and the Homebrew Quest socials for more information about the next Ben and Declan on a roll on a one shot, and for more information about it. Peace out. And Paul, thanks so much for coming back.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you about
Happy to
replacing
always
Ben.
be.
how dare you?
And we're out. Bye, Ben.